I'm honored.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I know that we've got a quorum of our Planning Commission meeting members. Welcome to our March 3rd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. It is 7 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Cole, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Ms. Height.
Here.
Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Greenwood. And Chairman Rhodes.
Here. All right, thank you very much. If you would reflect that in the meeting minutes. Next item on the agenda is to review and adopt the meeting agenda for this evening. Do we have any comments to the meeting agenda from our fellow planning commissioners? None? All right, do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting agenda as presented.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So the meeting agenda has been approved as written. Next item on tonight's agenda is to review and approve our minutes from our last meeting, which was on February 2nd. Does anyone have any comments to the meeting minutes from February 2nd? None? Okay. Do I have a motion from Planning Commissioner to approve the meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2021 as drafted?
I have Mr. Greenwood.
Hello, Mr. Greenwood, welcome.
All right.
Greetings, greetings. We have just about made a motion on the floor to for the Planning Commissioner to review the minutes from the February 2nd meeting. There have been no comments. Did you have any comments to the meeting minutes from the last meeting that you would like to raise?
No, I didn't have any.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to approve the February 2nd meeting minutes?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. February 2nd, 2021 minutes have been approved as written. So at this moment, we now have our public comment period. During this period, individuals attending the meeting have an opportunity to speak. Individuals have 3 minutes. And if you are representing a group, you have 5 minutes to speak. If you are going to speak, if you would please state your name, maybe your district. How does that work in terms of, do they raise their hand?
Just send us a message in the chat.
Okay, send a message in the chat if you would like to speak. So I'm going to open up the public comment period now.
Hi, Planning Commission members. This is Steve Tuppence, and I am representing the Upper Mattaponi Indian Tribe this evening. And on tonight's agenda under new business, item C, the county planning department is proposing a new water tower location for the central garage water system. And we have spoken with the interim county administrator already and have notified him that we are in opposition of the proposed water tower location. As a federally recognized tribe, that water tower will be directly located in our ancestral land. So as the county goes through that process of developing that water tower, the county is going to run the risk of potentially running into artifacts, which could slow down the project. And there is also the opportunity for finding burial sites. So in that regard, the Upper Mattaponi respectfully asks that the Planning Commission either vote to decline this evening the proposed water tower location, or to table the matter this evening and request that the county find a more suitable location for that water tower in Central Garage to expand capacity. We're not opposed to expanding capacity. We understand that development does need to occur, but in that particular area, pretty much from the beginning of Kelly Lanes, where the transfer site is today, up to, I'm going to call it Kelly's Farm on Route 30, where West River Road is. In that general vicinity, let's say a mile to a mile and a half radius of Indian View Baptist Church, all of that land was ancestral land, and there could be issues in developing that as we go forward. So we respectfully request that the Planning Commission either deny the proposed location, or table and allow the county administrator and his team in the planning department to find a more suitable location for the proposed water tower to expand the system in Central Garage. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Do you pronounce your last name Tuppence?
It's Tuppence.
Tuppence. Thank you, Mr. Tuppence. So my question for Ms. Graham would be, with this comment, since we are not at that point in the agenda, may we discuss this comment when this comes up on the agenda this evening? Does anyone have any objection to that approach?
I have no objection.
Okay.
And if I may add, I forgot to mention that I am a council member on the Upper Mattaponi Indian Tribe Tribal Council, and I come with the permission tonight of the chief.
It's wonderful to have you, and thank you for your comments. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else have any comments? Please raise your hand. I thought I saw someone else raise their hand.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Raymond Carter. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
I am from King William. I'm actually in the West Point district, and I have a few concerns about some of these zoning proposals and the ads I've seen in the newspaper regarding those proposals. One is the family gifting of land. I believe that as a property owner, and I own property in King William, and I believe that property owners should have say in what they do with their land. I also believe that there should be no waiting period for property owners to gift their land to an individual, just an immediate family member. Also, some of the ads language that I've seen in the newspapers, Country Courier, have been very disheartening, as in regarding the King William brand and trying to minimize starter homes and lot sizes for those homes. One, because residential zoning takes precedence in that section of land. It will not affect AC zoning or protections. Once that land is developed as a residential home, it should be zoned as residential and taxed as such. Also, the community will profit and benefit from the growth of having smaller families within this community, as smaller landowners in this community. To try and ostracize those personnel is just wrong. I served my country for 22 years in the military. That means I support and defend the Constitution and the rights of people to live in this country free, regardless of what they can afford as far as property. I, for one, am a first-time homeowner, and I own more than 1 acre of land. However, I believe that someone should be able to be afforded that opportunity to own land and own a home and grow their families, whether it's a starter home or not. And I'm gonna yield my time. I probably have more time than that, but I'm gonna yield my time. Thank you.
Mr. Carter, thank you for your comments. You do have another minute remaining if you would like to speak additionally. We appreciate your comments. And we still have other people on the line. Anyone else like to speak during our public forum? Please raise your hand.
Ms. Chairman, I'm going to take a second to let everyone know that if you're on a telephone, hit the *9 to raise your hand if you're not at a computer.
Thank you. All right, we're going to give it a couple more seconds. All right, if there's no one else that would like to speak, our public forum comment period is now closed.
Is there?
Yeah.
It looks like we have a Mandy wants to speak. Is that?
Is there?
In
Back up in the chat.
the chat, let's see, *9 Mandy.
So there's a Mr. Couch wants to speak. I just saw that pop up, so we need to get Mr. Couch.
Yes, hello. Yes, my name is
Hello.
Chris Couch. I live in the 5th District. I had two quick comments. Admittedly, I am trying to read through and understand the zoning ordinances, but one of the things that I do think that would be helpful to the citizens of the county is to provide some communications, be it on the website, on Facebook, whatever, about how the comprehensive plan is being drafted and also how those zoning ordinances fit into them. To look at the zoning ordinances without understanding the comprehensive plan, it's confusing to me. It would seem that we'd want to establish that strategy for where does this county want to be 10, 15 years from now? Are we going to need to be building bigger schools? Where would that be located? Just to understand, have a better understanding of the vision of our planning for the county, and then that would, I think, help citizens understand how the zoning ordinances fit into them. Regarding the zoning ordinances themselves, there has been a lot of healthy communication, collaboration, discussion about these in various forms. And one of the things that I see when I look at them is just this kind of a lack of diversity in them. And by diversity, I mean around flexibility for how minor subdivisions, if I understand this correctly, would be allowed to play out. And if I could, I live in a minor subdivision, Durrell Farms. Believe it was established in the late 90s. It appears to me it represents a common sense, diverse approach to rezoning. In the sense that it was about 345 acres or so, it looks like, when it was broken up into 11 parcels that were 5 acres, another 8 parcels that were 6 to 12 acres in size, and then 6 parcels that are 20 to 50 acres, and they were all rezoned rural residential. And when I look at that and knowing a lot of my neighbors, I think this represents kind of a common sense approach to rezoning and subdividing large agriculture land, provides diversity in the size of the lots that are then available, which then allows affordability of those lots to a diverse group of citizens and still provides flexibility to use that land both for rural and residential purposes. So I just want to throw that out there. It doesn't appear that something like that could be done, both under our ordinances today and also under the proposed ordinances. There's a lot of talk about 5 acres, 10 acres, things such as that. And really, I think that we need to open ourselves up to looking at, a blended lot size that allows affordability and lots of various sizes to citizens that want to choose to call King William County home in the future. And that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. Very helpful comments. We appreciate these. We hope those that have spoken have also completed the surveys. That is helpful. We will be reviewing those once they are all compiled. So that is helpful. We have not closed our forum yet. So if we have other folks that want to speak during this period, please raise your hand. I thought I saw one other person. I see someone connecting. Do you see anyone else raising their hand?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to close the public comment period. We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much for speaking this evening. So now we have on our agenda unfinished business. And I think Ms. Graham, maybe an ordinance update from you. Where would you like to start?
We've closed out the surveys as of Friday. We had 520 surveys completed. 259 of those were online surveys. I talked with Berkeley this afternoon, and they're going to have preliminary results hopefully by the end of this week. And I will send those results to all the planning commission members and the board. They will not be the final, it will just be preliminary. When we have our April meeting, we should have the final results. And then of course we have that joint work session with the Board of Supervisors on April 12th. And they will update us on the findings from the stakeholder groups and from the surveys.
Okay. Is now the appropriate time? We had also spoken about March timeframe, if I recall correctly, to have a work session. Is Ms. Graham, do you recall having that discussion? Is that something that will be necessary?
It would be up to the planning commission if they want to have their own work session. I believe they said it was the week of March 21st, and that will be up to y'all.
Right. So we've got I'm just looking at calendars, our April 7th meeting or 6th meeting at 7 o'clock. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I thought we'd already picked a date in late March. I don't have my calendar with me. My wife has that. But I thought we had already picked a date for that meeting.
I did not recall. If anyone else recalls, that would be helpful.
Excuse me, I have on my calendar work session for PC on March 24th. That would be a Wednesday.
Okay,
sounds
very
right.
good. Okay, good. I apologize. I did not have that on my calendar. Thank you very much.
And I feel very strongly that I would like us to take a look at all the comments we receive before we get together with the board to give us an opportunity to go through them and identify those that we are in agreement with, that we would like to see changes made. I think it will make the Board of Supervisors meeting both more productive and shorter as well. So if we've had a chance to weigh in, here are the comments we found that we think will make the ordinance a lot better. And here are the comments, we understand why they were made. Here's why we're proposing something different.
Right. And Miss Graham, is the thought being that, are we on track to receive the comments back from the Berkeley group so that we can have a productive work session?
I know that they will have the preliminary in. I don't know if they'll have the final, but I will send them an email and let them know that we have our own work session on the 24th, and hopefully they'll get those in by then. They should. They told me 2 weeks, so that's
okay.
That's more,
Right.
Madam Chair, my understanding was we picked the date we did because they felt they would be able to have it done by then. Even if they can't have the final comments, the preliminary comments, I think are going to be sufficient for us to make some sound recommendations.
Good. As long as we have something to work from. Very good. Okay. Any other comments about that or questions for Mrs. Graham? Okay, next item on the agenda is new business and the solar moratorium. Ms. Graham, did you want to speak to that?
We've just had it on the back burner. I didn't know if you wanted to wait until the ordinance has been adopted before requesting that the Board of Supervisors lift the moratorium on it. I have checked with Berkeley Group. All changes from the committee have been put into the draft ordinance, and all of the legislative changes from last summer have also been incorporated into the draft ordinance.
Ms. Graham, was that in the last copy of the ordinance we received?
It should have
I
been in
did
the.
not see. Excuse me?
It should have been in the last copy that was received.
Okay, I will check that again.
Madam Chair, I don't recall seeing a red line version of the most recent ordinance we got, so I don't know what they put in or didn't put in related to the legislation. So can either staff or the Berkeley Group point to us where in the draft ordinance that information was incorporated?
It would be helpful.
We'll get them to do an outline of the changes, even if it's just a red line on the side, so we can compare that to the existing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, that will be helpful.
Okay, any other further, Ms. Height? Mr. Greenwood, any questions or comments?
No, that would be good to have those highlights. That'd be good.
Okay,
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Ms. Height. I would like to make sure that before we make any recommendations as far as the solar moratorium is concerned, that those subcommittee recommendations be put forth before the Board of Supervisors formally to get their, their recommendations or their opinions related to it before we would, as a planning commission, move forward with any type of motion either way as far as the moratorium is concerned.
I agree.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yep.
The Planning Commission received, and I'm assuming the Board of Supervisors has or can receive the modified ordinance that included the changes. The Berkeley Group did put all the ones in that the subcommittee recommended. Those that were brought to the subcommittee that were not included are in that document that I shared with the Planning Commission some months ago. So the Berkeley Group has put all of the solar subcommittee's comments in that the committee as a whole agreed to, and you all also have those comments that were provided that the full subcommittee did not recommend. So that's already in there. The one thing that I don't know that it's in there, I have not seen it, is the legislation.
Right. Okay,
What we'll do, if it's okay, I will get a copy and outline just that section and send it to you all so we can have it at our next work session. And we can, if after we have that meeting, if you want, we'll send that document to the board for their for the work session that we're going to have jointly with them in April.
I think that's a great plan. Let's go ahead with that. If you could double check and make certain that happens, would appreciate it. Okay, I think we already spoke about our joint session. Any other comments about that, Ms. Graham?
That was it.
Okay, and let's go ahead. If you could speak now to the new water tower location, and then we can open that up for the planning commissioner comments and questions.
Okay, so we are at our max for water usage at the central garage, and another water tower is needed. In addition to that, they are needing some maintenance and repair to the existing. So we are looking at having another water tower put in. The Kelly Lane site is the highest elevation, and the best location for that area that works the best. So the planning commission would need to either vote on approval or denial of it, or decide that they want to hold a public hearing. And then it would go to the Board of Supervisors. And then the Board of Supervisors at that time could either accept, deny it, or make changes. And Mr. Tuppence, I know that Mr. Hudgens did get his concerns and it was looked at, but we found no concrete evidence of that anywhere. And it being private property, there were no special permits that were required. If he has, some other information, we'll certainly look at it, but we were not able to find anything.
Okay, so Ms. Graham, was it your thought that this was going for a vote before the commission this evening then?
It's up to the planning commission whether they want to vote to approve it or to deny it, or if they would like to have a public hearing on the matter.
Okay, so I'm sure people have questions about that, so I'll allow my fellow commissioners to ask any questions they may have about it.
Madam Chair. Oh,
Don Wagner. Based on Mr. Tuppence's comments, I think we should table this until a later meeting until we can get more information. Another question besides Mr. Tuppence's comments, I question the elevation. Why is it not possible, and this is a question for Mr. Hudgens, but why is it not possible to raise the tower to higher elevation if that's the problem? And generally, the location this is proposed for is not an adopted subdivision. It is in a proposed residential area for our future land use map, but it has not been developed or has not been submitted as a subdivision itself. And right now there are a lot of issues with, if that is developed, there are a lot of issues with access to where that subdivision would be. So I think it certainly needs to be tabled until we can get additional information. And at the same time, I think we need to be looking at another site that would be acceptable.
Madam Chair, I concur with Mr. Wagner entirely. I was going to make a motion to table it. Since Mr. Wagner's already done that, I don't need to. Even before Mr. Tuppence spoke, and I very much appreciate him speaking tonight, I was wondering about the difference between option one, which only had a 250-foot additional main extension, versus Kelly Lane, which had 1,300 feet, with a difference of elevation of only 5 feet. What would be the difference in cost to raise the water tower an additional 5 feet? I'd be interested in hearing from Mr. Hudgens about the pluses and minuses of different sites. The reason we're hearing this in the first place is because normally this is something that would be in the comp plan, the future land use map, and all that. We've not done any of that in a long time, and so I'd like to hear directly from Mr. Hudgens, if we may. And then finally, has there been any archaeological dig at all on the site to confirm whether there may be? And again, you would note that you got into it and went through all the environmental studies, but has there been any preliminary dig to determine if there might be artifacts that would indeed slow the construction down significantly, potentially?
I am not a know if Mr. Tuppence, if he's aware of any.
Ms. Graham, could you have Mr. Hudgens speak to us at the next month's meeting?
Ken, would you like Bowman to come and speak as well? The consulting.
That's going to add expense to the project, I would assume.
They're kind of working on the preliminary right now.
Okay.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Yes, I wanted to bring up, this has already come to the Board of Supervisors, and we're already looking into it because Mr. Hudgens has told us this is something in our capital outlay program that we're having to come up with money for this. So like I said, we probably do need more information, but didn't know why it was on our agenda to vote on anyway, because that's something that's already in the hands of the Board of Supervisors, because we were told we needed it. And Mr. Hudgens already brought us all that information, all the different options, all the different plans. So we were already been looking at it twice. So, but still, we probably should have the Planning Commission look into it as well. And I don't mind a public hearing on that too, to get some public input. And I didn't know until just this evening that Mr. Tuppence said that there was a archaeological part, but that is like I said, it could hinder the part, but it sounds like that's a large area too, because so anything might be hindered, anything all the way from Central Garage where that Kelly Lane is all the way to Kelly's Farm, which is a long way down the road. And I think maybe Mr. Tuppence might want to be at our meeting also, because I know he had mentioned something about that the tribal lands have some grants and things that they might be able to help us with. So maybe we should get all involved with everybody talking, seeing what kind of different kind of possibilities we might have to work with.
And Madam Chair, this is Mr. Tuppence. I was unmuted, I guess, to answer the question in regards to archaeological dig. If you want me to speak now, I can, or if you guys want to continue your discussion, I can wait.
Well, what would be wonderful, and I don't have any problem with your speaking this evening, but if I think what's going to happen is we're going to table it this evening and hope that we can have additional information at the next meeting. It would be very helpful if you could make yourself available then.
Yes, I can do that. And then to answer Mr. Breeton's question real quickly, our concern is that we know that there are artifacts within the area. An archaeological dig has not been completed at this time. We are just calling out the risk within that area that you may approve a project that is proceed on a certain timeline to meet certain objectives of the county, that in this particular geographical area, any development could hit substantial roadblocks depending on what is unearthed. So we understand, and then also in other positions that I hold, understand that taxpayers' money is very important, and there are certain timelines that need to be followed. We want to get out ahead of this to explain the risks. We don't want the county to invest money and then turn around and find out, oh, we had this issue nobody knew, and then the project was delayed. So that's we're bringing the risk forward. We want to be neighborly as a federally recognized tribe, as a sovereign nation. Our status as a sovereign nation is equal to that of the state of Virginia. So we want to ensure that we're looking out for the county and developing that relationship, as Mr. Greenwood had spoke about, and looking in other potential avenues. So we just want to be a partner and make sure that as we go forward, we're not opposed to development. We just want to make sure that everyone understands the risks.
Thank you, Mr. Tuppence. We are grateful for your time. So, Ms. Graham, I think that, and then we can make a motion, if you could confirm the availability, have Mr. Hudgens available, Bowman, if it's not an additional expense. I think it would be helpful to understand not just what's being proposed, but the alternatives as raised in the questions by Mr. Breeden and Mr. Wagner as well, so that we fully understand what alternatives there are. Do my planning commissioners have any other wish list from Miss Graham in preparation for our next meeting before we make the motion?
Madam Chair, if I may, in regard to the water tower, it was my understanding from the information that Mr. Hudgens sent out that this is being prepared to go into the 2021 comprehensive plan, and I'm just wondering why there should be any great rush. Of course, we want to get it done, but we want to get all the facts together and straight, and I do appreciate Mr. Tuppence's comments. But this would affect a large area of potential locations for the water tower, as well as development in that area. So I think we need to have a whole lot more discussion on that, and possibly direct discussion with the Board of Supervisors as well. I understand from the state code that the Planning Commission does have a role to play in this. We do have to make a recommendation, and we do have to consider whether or not we want a public hearing. But we need to have a lot more discussion, and hopefully we can resolve that at our next meeting with Mr. Hudgens and Mr. Tuppence. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam
Madam
Chairman.
Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Height, and then we'll get Mr. Breen.
Yes. Am I missing something? I believe from the previous meeting that Mr. Hudgens came before the joint work session with the board and the Planning Commission that there were 3 sites being looked at. However, the only thing that I received in my package is a text map parcel 29-8 listed. I do appreciate Mrs. Graham sending the information that was included related to the state code, et cetera, that was presented to us in the joint meeting. But I really think from a transparency perspective, that should have been included in our package tonight that the public would have had access to. But did I miss where the other 2 sites were in some of this information?
I don't. Go ahead.
The site location that's on there is the first choice. There are 2 other locations on the same parcel that would have been second and third choice, but that was the corner that they were looking at. But all 3 locations are on that same parcel.
This is Don Wagner, if I may. Originally, there were a couple other sites that were looked at, including the industrial site where the kitty litter plant was one of the sites, and I believe there were 1 or 2 other sites that were initially looked at. Most of them, or the other sites, were rejected because the elevations were somewhat lower. But again, as Mr. Braden indicated, why can't we raise the height of the water tower to get the elevation we need?
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
So I'm working from I'm not sure if it was a draft or final master utility plan that had 4 options. I do not want to slow the water tower down substantially. I think it definitely is needed. The comp plan will certainly reflect that. We know we need the water tower. Interest rates are low right now. I would like to see it fairly soon. That being said, I don't know that I've had an in-depth discussion with anyone about the advantages, disadvantages, cost, benefits of the 4 sites in the master utility plan. So again, I don't want to drag this out indefinitely. However, this is a long-term capital improvement, and I'm not sure we've had adequate information. And the reason we have to approve it is because it would normally have already been in the comp plan, which has not been updated in 5 years, and so we need to not wait till the comp plan is revised later this year or early next year to approve whatever goes forward. But I just think we need a little more information to make that decision. Thank you, ma'am. And again, because it's been tabled, we don't really need a motion per se. Mr. Wagner made a motion to table it, so it's been tabled, I think, from Robert's Rules of Order. So again, I'd like to see Mr. Hudgens and whomever else staff thinks would be appropriate. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to also reiterate that I think tabling the motion tonight is the right decision.
Good. Well, I would agree as well. I'm not aware whether Robert's Rules requires the tabling of a motion to be seconded. Mr. Breen, you says it does not?
And you've already got 3 votes, so yeah, anyway.
I thought it did just to be formal, but
does
All
not
right.
need to be seconded. Excuse me, this is Don Wagner. It does not need to be seconded, but another member could bring up a motion to override the tabling. And if that motion were approved, then it would not be tabled.
Well, I think based on our discussion tonight, it's been tabled. Thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. This has been very helpful. Ms. Graham, I may follow up with you. I want to make sure that our commissioners have what they need for the next meeting so that a decision may be able to be made at that meeting. Now I think we're on special reports and updates from staff.
I just have a couple of things. Hill's Studio will be out here on Friday. We are going to take them for a tour of our county and show them some different areas of interest. If you have any locations that you want to make sure that we show them, please let me know. We've got them for the whole day, just taking them around and showing them different things and stuff that we would be talking about doing our new comp plan. I wanted to also let you know at the Board of Supervisors meeting, they will be discussing having another member on the Planning Commission to represent the 4th District. So that'll be on their agenda at their March 8th meeting. And at our April 6th meeting, we will have 2 public hearings. One is for King William Sand and Gravel. They had a CUP back in '01, and this is an amendment to it to add about 100 acres to that so they can start working another phase of their gravel pit. And then we have another conditional use permit coming in for an accessory dwelling for a family member on property on Custis Mill Pond.
Okay. All right, there's a couple other items on our building logs, violation logs. Do you have any comments or do our commissioners have any questions about the 0.4 font on the violations? I'm making a joke, Mr. Greenwood.
It's awfully small. I just wanted to notice on those the logs she's mentioning, I had heard that there's also a development already planned for that Kelly Lane. So if that's the case, and I know we were told about it a long time ago, maybe Ms. To tell us how far that's gotten along, or is it in the planning stages, or has it already gone through? And
There has been some talk about it, but I haven't seen any preliminary drawings or anything at this point.
okay, just talk. Okay. And then violation logs, I don't know what exactly goes on there, but I had mentioned many months ago, and I think Mr. Hudgens back when he was with the building department, that house on River Road, East River Road, that somebody tried to get a permit for as a renovation, and it was no renovation. There was nothing there. And Mr. Hudgens went out there and found out that they didn't follow the building codes and they didn't have a building permit, and then they didn't have any architectural plans. The house is about falling down now. The roof is blown off. There's trash in the yard. The trailer's still there. I didn't know does it have to be a formal complaint from a citizen before and Steve put a condemnation or a stop work order permit on there, but is there something else that they can be done to get them moving along to clean it up some?
They've actually applied for permits. They're trying to get permits through to renovate it.
Oh,
We have not, zoning hasn't signed off on it because we're waiting for a health department approval. I'm not sure where they stand with the building department, but I do know that they had submitted plans for a building permit.
okay, that's good. At least it's progress. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right. So I think we're now coming to conclusion. Our next line item, unless Ms. Graham, you have any other comments about the logs, would be our commissioner comments. I'm going to start with Mr. Breeden. Mr. Breeden, do you have anything to add this evening before we adjourn?
Just one thing, are we going to adjourn or are we going to continue to the March 24th meeting?
Oh, that's a good technical question.
I mean, we have enough time to advertise, but there's no reason, we should certainly advertise, but to stay on the straight and narrow, I would just continue to our March 24th work session.
So the way we would do it, I think, is we would make a motion to recess until that date, time, and certain.
Mhm.
I think that's a good approach.
Wasn't
Okay.
it on the schedule already, or it didn't
I don't-
never get on?
I don't know if it is or not.
At
Yeah,
our January meeting, we agreed to, or excuse me, February meeting, we had agreed to have that meeting. Whether it's on the official calendar or not, I'm not sure.
It doesn't hurt to recess.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the safest thing. That's the only reason I mentioned before about taking the vote. The safer way would be to vote on it. Then we would all be voted, it would be recorded as what we voted on, but that's fine. I understand Robert's rules of orders if you have whatever, but yeah.
Newly revised.
Right.
Right. Okay. It's a good comment. Mr. Greenwood, did you have any comments this evening?
I did have one, and now that we started something else, I completely forgot what it was.
We could come back to you, Ms. Height.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to add tonight.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. We were mentioning something with Sherry about, and Mr. Tuppence was on the line earlier. When I noticed the new doctor's office with the Pamunkey Indian Reservation doctor. I noticed it's almost done. Do we have a date, Sherry, of when that grand opening is, or is it almost done? Or maybe Steve, Mr. Tuppence, can give us more on that, or? I guess Sherry didn't hear.
Yeah, Mr. Greenwood, I'm here. So yes, the clinic is actually being opened by the Upper Mattaponi Indian Tribe. And we are in the process of getting through that final punch list with the contractor. We did have an advertisement in the Country Courier today announcing that we would be opening in the April-May timeframe.
Okay.
So we are very excited. Actually gave a few tours today from representatives of the Indian Health Services out of Nashville. Dr. Claymore, who is the #2 administrator for Indian Health Services at the federal level out of Nashville, and then also the CEO of the Mid-Atlantic Division of Indian Health Services, which is based out of Richmond, gave them tours today. They are very impressed with the facility that the Upper Mattaponi have developed there on the property, and that facility is a tribal clinic, but it is unique in the sense that we are going to also be allowed to see what they call non-beneficiaries. So it will be open to the general public for a doctor's office as well. And then we're also taking a look at contracting with Veterans Affairs for us to be a VA facility so that any veterans that live within the area can come visit the clinic there without having to travel to McGuire in Richmond to receive services.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner, did you have any closing comments?
Yes, I would just like to thank all those people that tuned in to listen and those that spoke tonight. We hope we can, I understand there were about 15 people on tonight, and I would hope in the future we get more as we go on, but I'm looking forward to us getting back face-to-face as well. With that, the next thing I would like to see that we had discussed a little bit is more of an open discussion with the Planning Commission at our next regular meeting on the comp plan information that you and Mr. Braden received from the committee meetings, as well as just general discussion with the Planning Commission members to get more involved in where we're going with the comp plan. And thank you.
Thank you. I think that's reasonable, and I think we would agree with your comment and request. So I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening as well. Appreciate those that spoke during the open period, public comment period as well. I'm going to ask for a motion to recess the meeting until March 24th. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make the motion, Madam Chair, to recess until March 24th.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Greenwood, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attendance and see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Meeting adjourned.